Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Gittin Daf Samech Amud Aleph. Yesterday we spoke about Shalchule Bnei Gilila, the Rabbi Chelbo. So they sent Bnei Gilila to Rabbi Chelbo. Who reads after the Kohen and Levi? Acharem Korin. So he says, Lo Biyadeh. He didn't have the answer. So Ata v'Shayle, they came and they asked Yitzchak Nafcha. Elmaleh, he told them, Acharehen, afterwards you're going to read the Talmidei Chachamim, which are Mimunim el Parnasim, right? Ala Tzibur, which means that we're talking about the Talmidei Chachamim, which they're the ones that are in charge of the Tzibur. Right, because the Talmid Chacham is the one that's supposed to be in charge of the Tzibur, not the Balabatim. The Acharehen, and afterwards the Talmidei Chachamim, which are fitting to be placed on the Tzibur, and afterwards it's the Talmidei Chachamim. It's the children, meaning the rabbi's children. They go up to the Torah, and then afterwards it's the Rashei Knesiyot, the ones in charge of the synagogues, and afterwards every single person. So that is the order of the people that they go up to the Torah. Shalchule b'nei Galil Rabbi Chelbo. So they sent. Right, Bnei Galil to Rabbi Chelbo. Ma'u likrot bechumashim bebet hakneset b'tzibur. Can you come and start writing, right, in the chumashim, that every chumash is written by itself? You could read that, or does it have to be like in a chumash that it's like a regular, real Sefer Torah style of chumash? So, meaning, can you read in a regular chumash in the Bet Knesset, right? Because they used to come and they used to write for themselves a chamisha chumshe Torah, kol chumash by itself. So now this was done like a Sefer Torah. Okay, they didn't have a print like nowadays that we have like this. They used to have a scroll, right? But it was a chumash by itself. So can they read that or not? Okay. With otiyot shel Torah. Yeah. So he says, Lo b'yadei, he didn't have an answer. Ata v'shalei, they came and they asked of Yitzchak Nafcha. Lo b'yadei, he didn't have an answer. Ata shil, so they came to ask in the Bet Midrash. Pashtu ameha, they wanted to say it like this. Te'amar Shmuel bar Nachmani Rabbi Yochanan, Sefer Torah shechaser yiriyah achat. Right, and for sure not a chumash, right, because it doesn't have chamisha chumshe Torah. So if it does not have chamisha chumshe Torah, you cannot read from it in a tzibur. Meaning, I cannot just come and take out, right, a chumash, which is, again, it's written exactly like a Sefer Torah, but it only has devarim. Right, I can't do that. No, you can't. Why? It's not a Sefer Torah. Right, it's only chumash devarim.
That saying that for Parashat Zachor, if you cannot come to
but really, it's not like that. Hatam over there, you're lacking in part of it, and that's why it's not a Sefer Torah. Hacha, but over here by the Chumash, lo michsar b'minte, right? You're not actually lacking anything. Meaning, there we were talking about a Sefer Torah which was chaser. Here it's not a Sefer Torah which is a chaser. Here it's a full Sefer Devarim. It's a full Sefer Bereshit. It's a full Sefer. So maybe you could read from it. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef Tamrin Tarvaihu. You're not allowed to read, right, in a chumash, right? Why? Because they look like anim, that they don't have a Sefer Torah. Which means the fact that they look like anim, that they don't have a Sefer Torah, so therefore you're not allowed to read it because of the kavod tzibur. Okay? Okay, some people say that what happens though if you have a Sefer Torah and they found a mistake, so now can you take out this chumash? Right? Again, one more time. We're talking about that I want to read the parasha. This week's parasha is Matot Maseh. Yeah, Matot Maseh. Which sefer? Bamidbar. So what happens is that can I just take out this Bamidbar book? Right? Again, we're not talking about printed. They didn't have printed. It was a scroll, right? But it was only Bamidbar. Can I come and take out this book of Bamidbar, Sefer Bamidbar, and read from it? Says on the parchment and written everything normal. Says Asur. Why? Kvod HaTzibur. What is Kvod HaTzibur? They look like anim. Right? We're not, parasim or all these things. No. We come and right? And we have to show that we're rich. We have to show that, we're Kvod HaTzibur. Where's the kavod of the tzibur? We have a real Sefer Torah. We're going to come and, yeah. So what happens? He says, okay, but what happens right now if they found a mistake? That's something different. If they found a mistake, so then that's something different. They don't have anything else. So you take out a chumash of Bamidbar, so that's fine. Okay? No, he was talking about beforehand about the parson. Fine. Rabbi Rav Yosef, Damri Tavayu. Yeah, he comes and he says like this. Rabbi Rav Yosef, both of them were saying, Hai Sefer Iftarta, Asur Mikra Shabbat. So 1 second. If you have a Sefer Haftarot, you're not allowed to read it on Shabbat. My Tama, what's the reasoning? Delo nitan nikatev, because you can't write it.
You can?
You cannot write it. What does that mean? What does that mean? We know that you cannot write a sefer less than a sefer by itself. The sefer haftarot is not a sefer, right? It's one haftarah, another haftarah, it's not a sefer. So therefore, since it's not a sefer, how do you even write it?
This is why in the German synagogue in Marseille, they no.
There is Kohen.
Yeah, so that's what it is. Basically, that's the entire thing of the Nach or Tanakh. So he said really this. More Baravashi Amar. More Baravashi says it's also a sur, even letaltelo b'Shabbat. My tama, what's the reasoning? Meaning, like if you cannot read it, so for the so you're not, so it's muktzeh then. If you cannot read it on Shabbat, so it's muktzeh. So says the Gemara, velohi, but it's not true. Shari letaltule, right? You're allowed to actually carry it, right? The shari lemikrobe, you're allowed to actually read it as well. Because Rabbi Yochanan Lakish needs to be me'ayin in a sefer agadot on Shabbat. V'halon nitan likatev. 1 second, but you couldn't write it. So how do you write it then? Ela kevan de lo efshar. He says, since you cannot stop from writing it, that means Torah shebal peh, et la'asol l'Adonai efer toratecha, hachanami, so to hear the same halacha, kevan de lo efshar, et la'asol l'Adonai efer toratecha, which means, right, that there's such a concept of that, technically speaking, Torah shebal peh needed to be Torah shebal peh. You're not allowed to write it. So how do we write Mishayot? How do we write Gemara? How do we write all these things? And the reason why is means that there's a time that sometimes we have to do this in order that we're going to annul certain things in order that we don't annul everything. So what happened was that in the olden days, they already saw that if they weren't going to come and they weren't going to start writing these things down, people were going to forget. So since they're going to forget, they said you're allowed to write it. Okay? By the way, this is where the halacha is based upon. Are you allowed to write whether it's Pitum Ketoret? Are you allowed to write whether it's going to be the Lam Natseach Surat HaMenorah? A lot of these things, right, depend on this. Okay? Ba minei Abaye merabba. So Abaye comes now and he asks from Rabbi. Okay, fine. Ma'u lichtov Megillah. Can I write a Megillah, right, which is again not Megillat Esther? Right? Usually when we say Megillah, it means Megillat Esther, but really there's Chamesh Megillot. And here the Megillah just means that it's something round, right? So the Megillah, which has one parasha, 2 parashiot, letinok litlamed ba. Meaning, can I come and write it, right, in order to learn? I'm writing it in order to learn. Litlamed. So tibai leman damar Megillah nitna, tibai leman Torah chatuma nitna. So this be'emet is a question whether we're going according to the Mandamar that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote every single parasha separately, and then at the end he came and he connected everything together. Or according to the Mandamar, that Moshe Rabbeinu gave the entire Torah already when it was Shalom. Which means like this, there's a machloket in the Gemara. How was our Torah given? Was it that every single time there was part of a diary, and then Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he sews it together, every single time there's a new page, right? And then everything at the end comes a nice, long Sefer Torah. Or was it really Be'emet? Right? No. That really Be'emet, when we're talking about the entire concept, right, of the Sefer Torah, really be'emet what we're talking about is, right? Really be'emet what we're talking about is that it was given as one whole. So and even with still, we still have the question: can you come and write it in order litlamed? So he says, "Tibai leman damar Torah Megillah nitna, kevan Megillah nitna, kotvin, odilma kevan nitbak. If you're going to tell me that be'emet it was given part by part, every single time it was given part by part. So therefore, Kevin the Megillah Nitna, so also you could write it by itself, because it was written by itself the first time around as well. Or Dilmar maybe Kevin the Idbak, since at the end, since everything was sewed together as one parasha, as like one sefer, so if you're not allowed to do that nowadays. Meaning at the time, yes. Why? Because the rest of it was not written yet. You write history, right? Remember, when we come and we have change, we rewrite history, right? That's what we're doing. So we're writing history. So he comes and he says, however, here, right? Maybe Be'emet, it was given Megillah. So fine. So you could also write a Megillah litlamed ba. Or do you say, no, the really Be'emet, once it was sewn together, it's one entity. You can't divide it later on. Or Tibai leman da'amad, you could also ask the question according to the man da'amad, Torah chatuma nitna, that the entire Torah was given at once at the end. Given the chatuma nitna, because since it was given at the end as one whole, and kotvin, you're not allowed to write it. Or dilmar, maybe right? Given the law of Shah, since you cannot come and write the entire Sefer Shalom for every single child, Katvinan. What does that mean, Katvinan? We're going to write it. You understood? That's the question. Yeah? So he comes and he says, right? Elmaleh, he comes and he says, En kotvin. We don't write it. Why en kotvin? Umatam, if you en kotvin. Says, you don't write it. Right? What does that mean? Right? That means even according to Megillah and Megillah Nitzna, at the end of the day, it was written together. So therefore, you're not going to write it. So 8 ways, so we're going to ask another question. Do you know what's written? Hilni Malka, she made a tavla shel zahav, a golden tablet, which Parashat Sotah was written on it, in order that the Kohen could copy it for all the Sotot that come. Right? Which means that she made I forgot how it's called in English. You know, like you make a stencil, or you make a stencil. No, I think you make a stencil, something that it's ready, that I already copy from there. Right? Which means that I already have it here. It's every single time.
It's the first print.
Well, yes. Well, it's not really a print. It's done also. Print. Right? Okay.
No, that's the first.
Why is it a stencil? So 8 ways. So we said, again, before I was interrupted, we said like this. They asked, she made a tavla shel zahav of gold, that it's actually come and it's written on it, right? And he says, Amar Rabbi Shimon Melakish, says Rabbi Shimon Melakish, yeah, Mishum Rabbi Yanai, right? In the name of Rabbi Yanai, the Aleph Bet. What does that mean? The Tevot, right? And therefore it's permitted according to everybody. Meaning, she didn't actually come and make a real copy, the new copy made out of everything. She just wrote down the Tevot, and by doing the Tevot, that's how they know how to copy from it, right? You did it with the Aleph Bet, right? Yeah. No, meaning that with a lot of people, it's enough many times just to give them a Tevot, and it's enough to understand. Some people you have to spell things out for them, you understand? And some people you have to tell to them a few times. It's like mamash, like you understand? So 8 May. So they come and ask the following question: Keshu kotev, when he's writing it, roeh vekotev ma shekatuv batavla. This is 1 second. The Braita says mefurash that when the Kohen is writing Parashat Sotah, he's looking at the Tavla and he's writing like that which he's written on the Tavla. Now, according to everybody, you cannot write down for a Sotah Rashi Tevot, right? You have to write down the Parasha. So if he's looking at the Tavla and he's writing that which is written in the Tavla, and you just said that what's written in the Tavla is Aleph Bet, meaning Rashi Tevot, how does that work? You can't write the Rashi Tevot for a Sotah. So it can't be like that.
No.
Answers the Gemara. Eima kemoshe katuv batavla. No, thank you. Okay.
Template.
So he says, thank you. That's the word, template. Thank you. Eima, you have to say kemoshe katuv batavla. Not a katuvla, not that which is written in the Tavla, because in the Tavla was actually written in Rashi Tevot. It's like what's written in the Tavla. Okay. So 8th way, we're going to ask another question. Keshu kotev, when he writes it, roeh betavla, he looks in the tavla, vekotev ma shekatuv batavla, and he's going to write that which is written in the tavla. Umaru katuv batavla, and what's written in the tavla? Im lo shachav. Im lo shachav yishatach.
Im lo shachav.
Right? Im shachav, im lo shachav. That's a pasuk. It's not a shetevot. If it says the words im shachav, im lo shachav, that's not the shetevot. That's the entire pasuk. Right? So he says, Hachmaskina, what are we dealing with? The Sirugim. At the beginning of every pasuk was written a full word. And the rest was written in Rashi Tevot. And that's permitted according to everybody. Meaning, when you're looking for a reference, at the beginning of every pasuk, you had the full word. Or 2 words, whatever it was. You had the full thing. Afterwards, the rest of the pasuk was all Rashi Tevot. You understood? That's the way that it was. And that's going to be mutar lechuli alma.
So says, she's not writing a Sefer Torah. She's writing a tablet.
So says the Gemara, Ketanai. It's actually machlok Ketanai. En kotvin Megillah letinok litlamed ba. He says you're not allowed to write a Megillah for a tinok litlamed ba. And he says ve'im dato lashlim. And if it is afterwards, you want to actually finish it, mutar. Meaning, right, that you're going to actually finish the Sefer Torah afterwards, it's going to be okay. No problem. Rabbi Yehuda says, Bereshit Dor HaMabul. Sefer Bereshit, you write from the beginning until Dor HaMabul, which is basically until Parashat Noach, right? Because that's the first inyan of the Sefer Bereshit. The Torah Kohanim, right? You're allowed to write from the beginning of the Sefer until Vahi Bayom HaShemini. So it's Parashat Vayikra and Tzav. Okay, but that's when you finish. So according to Tanakama, you're not allowed to write the Megillah unless you want to finish the entire Chumash. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're allowed to write a Megillah as long as it has one topic. So Bereshit, the entire first part until Noach. Vayikra and Tzav.
That's what he calls a Megillah?
Huh?
That's what he calls a Megillah?
No, that's what he calls an Inyan Shalem.
And
A topic.
And there is
Yeah.
some, or to
So
continue,
therefore-
or still to continue later.
No, Rabbi Yehuda said no, that's Tanakama. One more time. I see you're not paying attention.
We are paying.
En kotvin Megillah letinok litlamed ba. Says you're not allowed to come and write a Megillah litlamed ba, but if you want to come and you want to finish it, you're allowed to. That's Rabbi Yehuda, right? Sorry, that's a Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says no. Bereshit until Dor HaMabul, it's one inyan. Torah Kohanim until Vayi B'Yom HaShemini, one inyan.
אז כל ספר והפואנטה שלו.
אמר רבי יוחנן משום רבי בנאה, says רבי יוחנן רבי בנאה, תורה מגילה ניתנה. The Torah was given מגילה ניתנה. שנאמר, אז אמרתי נבאתי במגילת ספר כתוב עליי. It says in Tehillim, so then I said that I came in a Megillat Sefer, which is written, which means David HaMelech is mechane. The Sefer Torah, the Torah Shemichtav is Megillat Sefer. So it's mashma that he was given Megillah. Why is he calling it Megillat Sefer? That's the way it was given. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said no. Torah Chatuma Nitna. It was given as a full Torah Chatuma. Why? Shneimar lakoach et Sefer Torah hazeh. You have to take the Sefer. When it says Sefer, it's not a few Sfarim. It's one Sefer, meaning that it's one entity. It's one thing. Says the Gemara, take the Sefer Torah. It says no. There was someone after you already stitched it together. So if it really meant there was a whole bunch of different Megillot, but then you came and you stitched it together. Says the Gemara, but according to Shakish, it's written Megillat Sefer Katuv Alai. It says Ahu Dechol Torah Kula Ikra Megillah. No, the entire Torah is called the Megillah. Right? The It says in the Pasuk, Vayomer Hashem Elai, Vayomer Elai Mata Roeh, Vaomar, Ani Roeh Megillah Afa. So he says, I see like a Sefer Torah which is Poreach Ba'avir. So you see from here that a Sefer Torah Shalem is also called a Megillah. Because at the end of the day, it's rolled like a Megillah. So it's also a Megillah. Inami, or if you want, you can answer another answer. The Rabbi Levi. Tamar Rabbi Levi says, Rabbi Levi, Shmona Parashiot Nemru Bayom Shukam Bo Mishkan. There were 8 Parashiot that were said on the day of the inauguration of the Mishkan. And these are the Parashiot. Parashat Kohanim, which is basically Emor, which talks about Kohanim. Parashat Leviim, which is in Parashat Be'alotecha, right? Which is talking about the Taharat Leviim and the separating of them. Parashat Tmeim, which is talking about the Korban Pesach and everything, which is also in Be'alotecha. Parashat, that means basically they were Tameh the first time around, so therefore they wanted the second time around. Parashat Shiluach Tmeim, right? Which is in Bamidbar, right? That means before Be'alotecha, in Bamidbar, when they're sending out everybody from the Machane. Parashat Achremot, right? Samech Hamubet, Parashat Shtuyei Yain, which is going to be that they're not allowed to come into the Bet HaMikdash, right? Until if they're going to be drinking wine or things like that. That's in Shemini. Okay? Parashat Nerot. In Parashat Nerot, it's Ba'alotecha Nerot. Parashat Paraduma. In Parashat Paraduma, which is in Vayakel Bichlal. So imagine these 8 parashiot were written on the same day, given and written on the same day. They were written each one in Megillah, right? Because they're far away from each other, obviously, in the Torah. So therefore, it's mashma. The entire Torah was also done like that. Because look what we were doing. You were talking about Parashat Shemini, right? Parashat Emor, Parashat Bamidbar, Parashat Be'alotecha, Parashat Naso. Each one was something completely different, right? So says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Elazar, says Rabbi Elazar, right? Another concept. He comes and he says, right? Torah, Rov Bichtav, Umiut Balpeh. Do you know that the Torah, the majority of the halachot, are actually going to be written down because of the Shlosh Semidot, right? Klal Ufrat Uchlal, Gezerah Shava. Now the miut is Balpeh that was given, the Chalmos Shem Sinai Shneimar, Echtov lo rube torati kemo zar nechshavu. Right, which means I'm going to come and I'm going to write the majority of my Torah, just like a zar, which is going to be considered. Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, Rov is al peh, mute is bichtav, the exact opposite. So here we have a machloket. What is the rov and the mute of the Torah? Shnemar ki al pi devarim haele, because according to these words, karati techabrit. What does that mean? Al pi? Al pi means Torah shebal peh. So it's mashma, that's a majority. So says the Gemara, v'idach nami echtiv etzretin echtov lo rebe torati. How do you answer that one? If you're going to say echtov and you're going to be written and it says a majority, so he says hahu atmua kamit. There, it's like a question. Echtov lo rebe torati. It's not like a statement. It's a question. What? You're going to write the majority? Halo kamo zad nechshav. It's going to be like considered like a stranger. V'idach nami, the other one, etzretin echtiv ki al pi advarim haele. Right, which means you're going to have. Right, right, only al pi advarim, according to these words. So he comes and he says, "Hahu over there, it's mishum the tkifel lemigmerinu." He says because balpeh is much more difficult to learn it, and therefore, even though it's the miut, right, even though it's going to be the miut, it's still going to be, right, it's still going to be making a treaty upon them, even though it's going to be a mute, the minority of the Torah, because it's so difficult to learn it. That's why it's going to be like that. Okay, fine. So this is all the same topic that we're talking about, showing about how everything is going to be taught or not. Rabbi Yehuda Nachmani comes and he's teaching. Yeah, and he says, makes the Rasha from Lakish. It's written. So 1 second. It says kitov lecha advarim haele. It says al pi advarim haele. Haketzad. How does it work? Dvarim shebichtav yata rashay lo omram al peh. Dvarim shebal peh yata rashay lo omram bichtav. Anything which is written, you cannot say bal peh. And anything which is bal peh, you cannot do it written. You cannot write it down. Okay, there's a famous Gemara, which is basically talking about that the Torah shebal peh should be bal peh. You understand? That was the real, right? The real way that it was. Okay, that was the concept. So he comes and he says, now the Rabbi Shmuel Tana, the academy of the Rabbi Shmuel, they taught. Elle. What does it mean? Kitov lecha tadvarim haele. Elle ata kotev. Vi ata kotev halachot. Which means no, you can write these things. Right? These things you can write down, but you cannot write down things which are right dvarim shebal peh. So Rabbi Yochanan says, Yochanan okarat HaKadosh Baruch Hu brit im Yisrael ela b'shvil dvarim shebal peh. He only made a treaty with us for the Dvarim Shebal Peh. Shneimar ki al pi advarim haele karati lecha brit v'etzitzil, which means that it comes out that the words which were about Peh have such a power that that's what he made the treaty with us. Not for anything shebichtav. Only the Dafka Dvarim, right, shebal Peh. Me'arevim b'bayit yashav ivnei darkei shalom. So we said you're going to do an eruv in an old house because of darkei shalom. My tama, what's the reason? What is the reasoning of this takana? If you're going to tell me it's because of the kavod of the first balabait, right? There was a shofar that he used to blow every year of Shabbat, right? At the beginning in the house of Rabbi Yehuda, that he was a Rosh Yeshiva Pumbedita. Ulvasof be Rabba, and at the end they did it in the place of Rabba. Ulvasof in the house of Yosef, and the Sof in the house of Abaye, and Ulvasof in the house of Rabba. So if you see from here that the shinui of the shofar, the shinui makom shofar, is not considered a pegiyah bichvodo shel balabayit hakodem. So what's the problem now? So why is it that you could come and start blowing the shofar, right, in a different place, and nothing to do with the concept of the makom of the eruv? Answers the Gemara, ela mishum chashada, but rather because of chashad. What does it mean? Bigal chashad. He comes and he says, since the people of the chatzer, right, always used to put it in that place, if you're going to come and start changing it, people are going to come and start saying, you know what? They're being metaltel without an eruv. So they come and they start fighting. And we don't want people fighting. So because of that, it's going to make a difference. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, 2 dots, borshu karov le'ama. We said the pit which is close to an ama, it's the first one that it's going to be, it's the first one that's going to be filled up with water. Itmar, it was stated, bene nahara, right, the bale sadot, which are right by the nahar. Rav Amar Rav says, Tatayesha tumaya bereisha. The tachtonim, the ones which are further away, they're going to first put the water. And Shmuel says, Ilaeh, The ones which are the Elyonim, which are closest to the river, those are the ones that are going to drink, to take the water first. So says the Gemara, right? In a case where they're going to grab the water with buckets, nobody argues. There's no machloket. Why? You want to come, you fill it up with water, right? There's nothing there. When is a machloket? When you want to come and you want to actually stop it, or you want to come and meaning that you're not actually coming and doing it for everything. Right? So the Yonim, they want to come and they want to block it in order for it to go first to their fields. And then it will go to the other fields. Now the other people, they're stopping it. Because Kilu, you're stopping me from having the water. So Shmuel Amar Shmuel says, right? The top ones are drinking water at the beginning. The Amri was, they're going to say, Anan mekarvinan tfei. We are closer. The Rav says, no, the bottom ones are drinking the water first, meaning they're using the water first. The Amri nahara bepashte lezel, which means let it continue going normally. Right? Why are you coming and blocking the river and now it's going to give water to the top part? Let the water go normally. But if you let it go normally, it's first going to go to the bottom part. So Tanam, we learned in the Mishnah, Habor karov lama, mitmale rishon darkei shalom. So we said that if you have a bore which is close to the ama, it's going to fill up, right? Because of the darkei shalom. So therefore, you see from here that the Elyon, he could block off everything, right? And the bottom ones can't stop him. So the one on the top could actually come and do this. So he says, people don't know. We're talking about the Amma, which is going on his board. So therefore, since it's going on his normal path, the people on the bottom can't stop him because, listen, it's going on the normal path. So there's no problem here. So says the Gemara, if so, what's the chidush? Obviously. So he says, I would have thought to say, you could say, sechar miskar, which means stop your bore, and then what's going to happen is that he's going to give the water. Kamashmalan comes teach you that the Elyon is not chayav to stop his bore. Meaning, I do not have to do anything which is abnormal to stop the water from coming into my possession. If the water is going over my property, and I don't have to stop that, I'm letting it go in its normal course. As long as I'm letting it go in its normal course, there's no problem whatsoever. So says the Gemara, Amar Ravuna bar Tachlifa, says Ravuna bar Tachlifa, you did not say the halacha is lo kemor v'lo kemor, not like Rav and Shmuel. What? There's a hefker belt. What does that mean? We always like when we say what the halacha is. You know why? Because if you don't say what the halacha is, kol dalim gvar. What? It's a jungle, right? What does that mean? Sometimes people come, and because they're more powerful, and sometimes powerful does not even mean powerful in strength. Sometimes people, they're loud. So they come and they start screaming. They start that. So what happens? So because of that, right? What happens is you just keep your mouth quiet. Why? Something's more powerful. It's just you don't have the strength to even bother. You just, whatever, right? So what? Whoever's more powerful is going to come and he's going to win. How does that make sense? We always give up sak, like A or like B. So Rav Shimi Barashi Atale Kameda Abaye. Rav Shimi Barashi came from Abaye. Elmaleh, and he told him, "Not one more ba'ina." He says, right? Let's come and sit down every single day. Elmaleh, he tells him, "Itli idna ledidi." Right? He comes and he says, "I have a zman kavua," right? Lachzor alimudi, and therefore he comes and he says, "Listen, I don't have time to learn. Why? You want to learn with me, but I am doing chazarot, so I don't have the time." I said, "Okay, so teach me in the nighttime." Elmaleh, he says, he says, "What? I have to get the water to drink in the night." Elmaleh, he comes and he says, "Fine. Ana mashkina le'lemor maya be'mama le'lotro balayla." Elmaleh lechai. He says, "You know what? No problem. I'm going to give the water. I'm going to get the water for you during the day. And that way, if I do during the day, now you're going to be free at night. And then you can teach me at night." He says, L'chaim, b'chavod. Yeah, let's do it. What does that mean? It wasn't, he starts telling him, he starts complaining. No. I'm going to make it easier for you. You know what? I'll take care of it. By him coming and saying, I'm going to take care of it, he got rid of the problem. Azal ilai. So Rav Shimi comes to the top ones. Amalu, when he tells them, Tataya shatu maya bereisha. Right, the bottom ones are drinking first, like Rav, and therefore you guys can't stop the river. Azalatatai. Then he went to the bottom ones. Amalu, and he says, Elisha to my Bereisha. Right, the top ones are going to like Shmuel, and you guys can't stop it. Adahachi. Now in between, right, before finding out, Sachar Miskar ve'ashke. What he did is he actually blocked it, and he started giving the water to drink to the field of Abaye. Everyone understood what he did or not. It's an incredible, like I'm telling you, this is something genius plan. Yeah, you guys understood or not?
No. What is genius plan?
You know that we had
So so when he came in front of Abaye, Elmaleh, he comes and he said, Kebei trei avatali. He says, what? You did like both? Velo ta'minhu Abaye lepere da'ishata. He says, what? You're doing like a tarte de satre. That's not proper. What are you trying to do? You're doing a tarte de satre. If you went only like Shmuel, okay, fine. If you went only like Rav, okay, fine. But now you're cheating them out by doing like both. You're basically coming and taking the string on both sides. Some people, they like to do that. They like to, to grab on both ends. You can't do that. You can't dance at two weddings at the same time, right? So what happened? So he didn't taste the fruits of that year, the entire year, nothing. Didn't taste it. Why? Because he felt it was incorrect, right? He felt that it was completely incorrect, the entire way that it was done. And therefore he comes, he says, it could have been permitted, right? Because he says that Rav Shimi was not over an Isur Gezel, it was only in Takara Chachamim because of the Darkei Shalom. So it wasn't 100% Gezel, but he still felt that it was like, it was wrong, right? In the way that it was done, and therefore he didn't taste the fruits for the entire year, okay? So that was this story. We'll just finish with the next story. Hanau b'nei Charmach, there were people from the city of Charmach, Dazu Karu Bereisha de Shanvata. They went and they started digging, right? Samuch lerosh nahar Shanvata, in order that it should go right by their fields. And then afterwards, right, it went back to the river. So everyone understood what happened. There's a river. What they did is that they came over here and they started digging. So now what happens is the river, right? The river, oh, okay, there you go. You have the picture there, right? The river comes right around, right? And it's going to go around. So, so the people of the upper fields came from Abaye. They told him, he says, one second, when you're coming, right, and you're moving the river on the side, you're actually making it go slower, right? Why? Because now it's not going in a regular flow. It has to deviate. It has to, diverse to another area. So because of that, right, it's going to come and it's going to overflood us. What? No. He comes and he says like this. He comes and he says, right? Amal lehu. He comes and he says, Karu ba'adayu tfei purta. He says, Chifu me'at samuch lerosh ha'eseba, and make it deeper. What you have to do is make it quicker, right? What does that mean? It became like a grama, so therefore they're not obligated to stop the hezek as long as the nizak. And that's why the nizak has to do it. So therefore he says, you want to do something, make it deeper. By making it deeper, there's more space for the water. Right? By making it deeper, now there's more space for the water. So therefore it's still going to go back to the original speed.
You slow it down.
Right? Which one?
You're going to slow it down.
No, that's what
and you're going to divert.
No, that's
Amar lehu, he said, Karuba dayu tfei purta, make it, start digging a little bit. Add depth. Now, by you adding depth, it's going to go quicker. By now going quicker, you're going to stop that. It's going to overflow on you. Amlulei, they said, okay, fine. But if we're going to come, right, and we're going to make it deeper, kayav sheperin. Now what's going to happen is that they're going to start drying up. Why? Because if the water is not going to go, and there's not going to be enough water there, right, what happens is that all of a sudden now they're going to dry up. Amaleu, he says, okay, fine. Zilu saliku nafshaychu mehatam. Go and get out of there, which means, right, go close it up. Close it. And that's it. And once you're going to cancel it, and once you cancel it, that's it. You're going to be finished. Okay, and with this, we're gonna stop here because this is the last line. We'll start this with Hashem on Sunday.